The year 2070 is shown in the film. Many world-renowned experts are concerned about the possibility of a global drought due to water constraint. To prepare for such a situation, a team of researchers is dispatched to the Moon's Balhi research station. The team's initial experiment involves a fish in a tank. They put a few drops of a mystery liquid that looks like water on it. It initially suffocates the fish, but as the molecules grow, more water is formed, eventually filling the tank. In short, due to the mystery liquid, the fish was able to establish a livable environment on its own. Despite the fact that the first experiment was a success, the station was forced to close soon after, and the base was forgotten. The prediction comes true 5 years later, in 2075, when the globe faces a serious global water crisis. It has resulted in an all-time high newborn mortality rate as a result of different infections and ailments brought on by polluted water use. South Korean government and business entities are investing heavily in gigantic vertical farms in the aim of lowering water consumption. Furthermore, the government has divided the public into distinct groups, each of which receives a particular quality and quantity of water, based on the relevance of the group to human survival. The approach is unsurprisingly unpopular among the general populace, who are now without clean water. Then we're introduced to SAA, a Korean space organization. Director Choi's agency intends to dispatch a crew to the Balhi Lunar Research Station. It's the same abandoned lunar research site where the fish experiment took place. It conceals a plethora of government secrets, some of which could help to solve the world's water problems. The crew consists of 9 men, all of whom are led by Captain Han, a space agency soldier. The expedition is particularly risky because, according to the most recent data, 117 crew members died in the base. They're told that the deaths were caused by a nuclear leak, but Dr. Song isn't convinced. Choi has enlisted the help of Dr. Song, an astrobiologist, for the trip. She originally declined the mission, but then changed her mind in order to learn the truth about her late sister, who died in the same Balhi catastrophe 5 years earlier. Dr. Song receives a lifelong gold membership in exchange for her efforts, which grants her limitless access to safe and clean drinking water. The crew is briefed on the mission by Director Choi. It appears out they need to collect at least 1 capsule containing a study sample from the lunar station. The knowledge on what the samples are made of, on the other hand, is said to be lost and unknown. They just know that the samples must be stored at a constant low temperature. Despite her suspicions that the SAA is suppressing information regarding the parcel's contents on purpose, Dr. Song decides to proceed on the expedition. The main pilot is replaced by a pilot named Jisoo on the day of the takeoff. Captain Han instructs everyone to tough it out despite the crew's dissatisfaction with the last-minute alteration. The spacecraft takes off and safely enters Earth's orbit, then the orbit of the Moon. However, it malfunctions during the landing, and they crash on the Moon's surface, 7.6 kilometers northwest of their intended site. The mission's spaceship crashes into a cliff, forcing the remaining crew to walk to the station. Huang, a former researcher at the Balhi station, has been seriously injured. He comes to a halt halfway through the voyage and is unable to continue. He seems to know something the others don't because he's been to the station before for study. He tries to deliver a message to the crew but dies, causing the team's morale to suffer a significant hit. Despite this, they continue on their quest and are on the verge of running out of oxygen. When they arrive at Balhi station, they scramble to refuel the tanks and manage to stay alive. The narrative then rushes back to the past, where Dr. Song is seen trying to figure out what happened to her sister. She tries to figure out what her sister was working on at the lunar station by decrypting a file from her sister's computer. She solves the code eventually, and a message appears on the screen that reads, "Find Luna." Returning to the present, the group comes upon an elderly body with drowning-like physical indications. They're perplexed since there's no way there's enough water on the Moon for someone to drown and die. The crew is unable to identify the deceased body using their database, and they are perplexed by the presence of an automatic weapon in the corpse's possession, which suggests he was a mercenary. Furthermore, all of the station's systems are operational, and the station is free of the harmful radiation that reportedly killed the station's personnel 5 years ago. Dr. Song's suspicions that SAA is keeping them in the dark grow greater, and she advises autopsying the body, but Captain tells everyone to stick to the plan and search for the command center instead. They eventually find the center and resurrect the gigantic structure. The communication system, on the other hand, is down, and the crew is unable to reach Mission Control. Despite what Mission Control had told them, the radiation readings in the control room appear to be normal. Dr. Song pulls her life support off to show that they are not in a high-radiation environment, and everyone follows her lead. She advises that they do a thorough check of the station once more, but Han reminds her that it is not their responsibility to examine the reason of the Balhi accident. They've come to get the samples, and that's the only reason they're here. The crew divides into teams and searches the station for viable samples, as there are 3 storage areas where the sample could be discovered. A member of the team named Dr. Hong, a soldier named E2, and the captain set out for storage number 1. E1 is transported to storage 2 together with Tae-suk, Sun, and Soo-chan. In the meanwhile, Chief Gong, Dr. Song, and Jisoo are transported to storage 3. Dr. Song instructs the crew to check the thermoregulator as soon as they locate the capsule to ensure that it is at an extremely low temperature. On the route to storage 3, Jisoo informs that Captain Han has returned from retirement for a particular assignment. He wants his sick daughter to have access to a higher quality of water. It comes out that 1 out of every 10 youngsters dies as a result of the severe drought. Meanwhile, Team 1 encounters a clogged gate. They come uncover a lot of corpses as they force open the door, terrifying the crew. A brief evaluation of the situation reveals that the victims were desperately attempting to flee, and the area was immediately shut down in an emergency. The situation is in stark contrast to a government report that said the fatalities died long before the shutdown began. Dr. Song examines the bodies using her wrist computer and notes on their drowned body features. She insists on going to the infirmary to look at their medical records, but Han dismisses her, asking her to focus on her personal interest. The first and second groups arrive at their respective destinations in the end. However, the visible capsules are empty or missing, and the storage units appear to have been plundered for the samples. Meanwhile, Team 3 notices an unfamiliar person roaming around the station. When Security Chief Gong comes around to inspect, Jisoo informs Dr. Song that he is aware of her late sister's death and sympathizes with her. He also says that if she wants to investigate the infirmary to find out the truth, he will cover for her. After a brief pause, Dr. Song decides to take advantage of the situation. Crew member Soo-chan of Team 2 observes a body with a capsule in his hands somewhere else. He touches the body, which sends small particle droplets into Soo-ai's chans when they come into contact. Following Dr. Song's departure for the infirmary, Jisoo enters storage 3 on his own and searches for samples. He drops his flashlight in the process. When he tries to retrieve it, an unseen force appears to drag it away, terrifying him to death. He gathers himself and dismisses it as hallucination. Returning to Team 2, they return to the command center after failing to locate a functioning capsule. Han, on the other hand, uses his watch to track Dr. Song's travels and instructs her to return to Jisoo right away. Jisoo finds a valid capsule beside the flashlight in storage 3 and manages to collect it. Water appears to be within the capsule. When Dr. Song arrives to storage 3, she finds an unknown thing attacking Jisoo and lifting him up in the air by his neck before suffocating him. Dr. Song also witnesses the thing snatching the capsule and then vanishes. Others soon arrive and learn of the situation. They are skeptical of Dr. Song's story, but a rapid examination of Jisoo's body reveals a shattered head, ankle, and arm, which could not have been caused by a fall. Before going through Dr. Song's body camera with Gong, Han instructs everyone to return to the command center. The intruder, it turned out, had gotten away through the ventilation system. Song theorizes that the intruder is a human since the intruder recognized the importance of the sample and took it away. Back at the command center, team member Tae-suk tries unsuccessfully to contact Mission Control, and after failing, he speculates that an issue with the radio tower outside is to blame. Soo-chan begins to shake violently and spew unnaturally large volumes of water. Everyone must take a step back and put on their hazmat suits, according to Dr. Hong. When Han, Gong, and Song learn of the situation, they return to the command center. Dr. Hong makes every effort to save Soo-chan, but he succumbs to drowning symptoms, just like the other dead strewn about the station. Dr. Hong informs Han that they must place Subodhi Chan's